good friend Todd Bascom is in the queue. Just want to let you know, Gary Bettman, the outgoing commissioner for the show of the NHL, was relieved of his duties.
Why? Because
Todd Bascom is now the new commissioner of the NHL.
Oh, sorry. Welcome, Todd.
The playoffs have been phenomenal, but Todd's concerned with the growing the product in the United States. Currently, the NHL is in year 6 of a 10-year broadcast deal. Social media and marketing have been outsourced to Major League Baseball's Advanced Media Group. Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Todd, how are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks for joining us.
So, Todd, I guess we're going to jump right into this. There won't be any mentions of John Scott ripping P.K. Subban on this show, but as commissioner, deal that you cut, has NBC Sports, your broadcast partner in the United States, external from CBC and Sportsnet in the Canada and the UK, has NBC Sports failed the NHL with their 10-year, $2 billion deal?
Well, I mean, there was a time where I would say yes to that. I think as a little more time has gone on, I've kind of come around to not really, and that maybe the NHL has failed on the deal a little bit. I think NBC, first of all, their coverage is excellent. I like that they'll get it on the wide array of networks they have. So in the first round or so of the playoffs, you'll have games on USA, CNBC, kind of like what they do at the Olympics.
Okay.
I like that aspect of it. My one complaint with NBC is that I think when we get now to where we're at the conference finals, we need to see the games on the flagship.
Right.
It's you had a lot of the conference final games on NBCSN. Maybe a lot of people don't know where it is. Mm-hmm. I know where it is. I'm a hardcore fan. I'm going to find it. But when you want those casual fans, I guess when you figure cord cutters into the equation, maybe it gets a little crazy. But I kind of see where NBC is coming from on that. I mean, this time of year, you want to get, it's a ratings game, and it's am I going to run the blacklist or I'm going to put the Stanley Cup Finals on? Right. What's going to get me? So I get it. So I think I like the deal as it is. I think when the deal is up, I want to try to see if I'm running at things, I want to try to see if I can get NBC to make a little more concessions when it comes to getting the finals and the conference finals on the network, and not, those games should be on NBC where everyone can see them. And that's, you're going to grow your audience. That's one way you're going to do that. So, I'd say to answer that question, the jury is kind of out on it. It's gone both ways, but we'll see what can be done better come the next year.
Okay, well then, see, now you mentioned casual fans. So, Nashville is not one of the original 6, hockey teams, as you well know. Who's going to be watching it? Is it better if Canada has a team in the finals to get more viewership? Who's going to be watching it down there, having a Southern team in the finals?
Well, living in a southern city, I live in Raleigh, and as you may know, we have the Hurricanes here.
Yep.
And I can tell you this: when the Hurricanes were good, everybody watched.
Okay.
Everybody went, everybody watched, and the Hurricanes took over, which is very difficult to do in this market, surrounded by Duke, UNC, and NC State basketball. But winning is kind of the great deodorizer. So I think who's going to be watching in Nashville? The whole city. Now, that probably doesn't say much because it's not that big a city. And but my experience with living in the southern market, the whole city is going to be riveted to this thing as long as it's going on. Now, does that interest, the real question is, does that interest stay going?
Right.
And the answer to that is no, if they start to stink in 2 years. So, and we saw that with the Florida Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the Panthers, we had the Hurricanes, same thing with the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are bad now. Haven't made playoffs in, 7 seasons. And the building's half empty. And there's real concerns about the Hurricanes moving. So it's right now for this finals, yes. Who's going to be watching in Nashville? The question is everyone. Is it better to have a Canadian team for ratings? Sure. I mean, you want the Maple Leafs in there. You want the Canadians or something like that. But the concern really is what happens for Nashville. It's okay, what happens next?
Right.
Is that team going to be good for a while or not? And if they're not, well, then we're going to see interest fade.
Okay.
Are the Penguins an unsung dynasty? And a follow-up question is Sidney Crosby more Mario Lemieux or Wayne Gretzky?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can call the Penguins a dynasty. I think in hockey, in order to be considered, probably most sports, you have to have won so many in a row, I guess.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call them a dynasty. They have a sustained period of excellence, with a cup sprinkled in here and there, and no, I mean, they're not an unsung dynasty because they're not a dynasty right now. I mean, as far as Sidney Crosby goes, what is it? Is he more Gretzky or Lemieux? Wow. I always consider that to be a little bit of the comparisons to Gretzky are natural. I kind of consider it to be a little unfair because to me it's like, for basketball fans, I kind of feel like the LeBron-Jordan comparison isn't fair. I've always felt like the comparison LeBron and Magic would be more accurate as far as the weight of their game. So it's kind of the same thing with Gretzky and Crosby. I mean, Gretzky is the greatest player, in my mind, the greatest hockey player ever. He's kind of mystical. Like when he gets on the ice, you just didn't know what you were going to see, and he always did everything kind of quietly and sneakily. Next thing you know, he's scoring 5 goals, and you don't know what in the world happened. Crosby is a little different in that he's kind of a workhorse player. He's a little more spectacular. He's flashy in some ways. And what's interesting about him, where I think Crosby is he will be considered one of the all-time greats. I'll say that now. But his game is so different. And what's great about Crosby, I think, is that he's not just that he's great offensively. He plays what we in hockey call a 100-foot game, where he's everything you want in a center ice player. He's back on defense. He back checks well. He scores. He passes. He makes plays. He's a much different player than either of them. Lemieux had a little bit more physicality to his game than either of them because of his size. So I think the comparison is a little unfair. but we are watching one of the all-time great players. I'll say that for sure.
All right. Speaking of great players, then future great players possibly, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid. Are they ready to be the next wave of leaders in the league?
That's a big yes. Connor McDavid, some of the things that I saw him do this season, he is amazing. He's a threat every time he's on the ice. Austin Matthews, too. And Austin Matthews, going back to kind of our last question, he has that Lemieux type of ability, I think.
The size.
Where he's got the size. I think as he gets a little older and more mature, he will become a little more assertive on the ice. But he is ready. He's already shown that he's a difference maker. And please, I mean, now there's 10 other guys we can put into this conversation. So some of his teammates, even Marner and Nylander, and Toronto's got 3 of these kids that are ridiculous. And McDavid has Draisaitl in his team. It's you got Jack Eichel in Buffalo. So there's just all kinds of great young talent coming up in the league, and it's going to be exciting, especially because the league is heading more towards the European style of play, where they're kind of slowly but surely legislating the physicality, not out completely, but we're going to see probably in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see more of an Olympic-style game in the NHL, I think. So it's going to be real exciting with those young guys and the skills they have. So, yeah, I'm Austin Matthews, I couldn't believe what I saw out of him. So it was, I knew he'd be good, but I think he scored just over 30 goals. That's crazy for a rookie in this NHL.
Right.
So it's going to be fun to watch. Yeah.
Todd, I think 30 goals and maybe up to 70 assists. Something crazy. Some type of crazy number.
He was phenomenal. And boy, I'm telling you, I mean, if those Leafs become, and I don't know if I can't remember back to what I thought at the beginning. I thought at the beginning of the season they were kind of like, all right, these kids are going to be good. They're not ready yet, and they make the playoffs this year, which I didn't expect. So they're ahead of schedule for sure. So and if Toronto gets good, that's going to give the NHL a big boost.
Who are you pulling for in the Stanley Cup? How many games is this going to be?
Well, who am I pulling for? I'd like to see the Predators win, just because I think it's a good story. And I like that a non-traditional market is there, and I want to see those markets do well so that the sport can grow. I think this is a really weird series, and I don't mean to hedge my bet here, but this can be a situation where the Penguins blow Nashville's doors off, and we're looking at 5 games, or Nashville really kind of hunkers down and makes the thing of this, and then we're going to see a 7-game series. I kind of feel like the longer it goes, the more it favors Nashville. Just because. So here's the best way to think of this series, actually. Go back to football, right? Mm-hmm. Remember the 2000 Ravens?
Yes, Ravens and Giants.
Yep.
Ravens, so you had, and the Giants, well, I mean, they had a great defense, too, I believe, that year, but they were known for their offense and all of that. And so that's what you're getting in this series. We're getting the best defensive team in the NHL in Nashville, and we're getting one of the more potentially explosive offensive teams in the league. So it's really what you're asking here is, well, what's better? Defensive play or high-flying offense? So we're going to find out, really. That's what we have here, is we have the defensive kind of prowess, and then Nashville has a goaltender that can just absolutely steal the show here. Pekka Rinne he's one of the best goaltenders in the world. He's shown that throughout this series, throughout the playoffs. And if he continues what he's doing, Pittsburgh's going to have a tough time. They're really going to have a tough time. And they can really slow you down coming through the neutral zone. And between that and the goaltending, I definitely think the Predators can win the series. They're very banged up, so it's going to be a tall order. But so I guess I have to give you an answer, right?
Correct.
That's what I got to do.
It sounds like you made your decision and started changing a little bit there as you started talking.
I mean, and that's what this series is. It's kind of tough. I'm going to say Nashville wins in 7.
Okay, all right.
I think Pekka Rinne is going to he's going to have to stand on his head. But I think that I don't have any reason to believe that he won't, because he's been doing it the entire playoffs. And them and the defense of the rest of the team. And Pittsburgh has struggled. They have struggled. A lot of people thought they should have blown Ottawa away. They made pretty easy work of the Capitals, but I mean, me and 5 other guys can do that, I guess, in the playoffs. But they kind of expected to have an easier go of it. I think they're right for the picking, so I'm going to go with Nashville here.
All right, we're going to remember that, and we'll touch base on that when it's all over. Well, you touched on the NFL briefly there for a second, so we're going to relieve you of your NHL duties. Okay. And we're going to put you as wide receivers coach for the Giants. You got your man Odell Beckham there.
Yeah.
What tidbits of wisdom would you give to Odell?
I think the tidbits of wisdom I would give to him I can't say in the air.
Family show.
So, I mean, look, in all seriousness, I would tell him, I would take him into a room and maybe give him a little bit of the Jordan treatment, what he used to do with the teammates. I heard the story about how he slapped Steve Kerr around. I don't know how true that is.
I've heard that story, too.
Yeah. So maybe OBJ needs a little bit of that. And I would basically tell him, hey, man, look, just start being a professional.
Right.
That's really all.
Grow up.
I mean, just start being a professional. Grow up. Get away from the Kardashians, and be a man. It's time to be a man. Men win Super Bowls, not little crybabies.
Right. Okay.
And so that's about as much as I can sanitize it for you.
That works.
Yeah. I told Ted not to ask me about Odell, but
so it was a setup there. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know how it was going to go, but I guess I got through it.
You're good.
Gotcha. Hey, one final question we have for you, Todd. And I know I'm going to see you also in Canada this summer. Could you imagine if it's 2021 and it's time to renegotiate, and once again, you're NFL commissioner, it's time to renegotiate with Fox, NBC, CBS, and ESPN. Do you strictly deal with them? Or do you take the time out and look at the new media of Amazon, Facebook, Google? Do you say goodbye to legacy, or do you go new media?
I think what I do is I kind of do a little of both. I want network TV, because I don't think network TV is going anywhere. Okay. It's over the air, and I think as long as that model is there, it's not going anywhere. And people can still tune in with their antennas and so forth. But I think you do have to explore getting away from cable.
Right.
So the answer there is I think I kind of do a little bit of both. I'm like, I want the network stuff. I want the free over-the-air stuff. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's free. It's for my customers.
Right.
And they don't have to go and hunt for me. But yeah, the new media stuff, I got to be honest, I don't know as much about it. It would require some study for me. But yeah, it looks like things are heading in that direction. I mean, Amazon, too, I mean, Netflix even, who knows, before we know it, I mean, they might be broadcasting live sporting events. I don't know.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. But definitively, I'm going to try and get away from cable.
Okay.
That I know for sure.
Gotcha. Hey, want to thank you for joining us tonight for the Fix My League episode. Todd Bascom, thank you once again, and I'm sure we're going to be talking very soon.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens at this series, and you can bring me back on to roast me when the Penguins sweep Nashville.
You know we will.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Todd.
Good talking with you, Todd.
No problem.
Thanks
nice to be here. Thanks.
Take care now. Okay.
Yeah, okay.